Today it is time for a professional match of StarCraft 2, and what I've got for you is a Terran versus Protoss, where we find ourselves on the map Eternal Empire. Spawning here, in the bottom left-hand corner, playing with the red Terran SCVs. This man is one of the most successful and one of the most popular Terran players of all time. He's from South Korea, but his nickname is Captain America. We're looking inside of the main base of Polt. His opponent in the opposite corner with the blue Protoss pieces. He's from the greatest country in the world, although I might be a little bit biased. He's from the Netherlands, and he goes by the name of Harstem. Now, for those of you curious, I always loved the Polt story. Basically, back in the early days of StarCraft 2, all of the premier tournaments, all of the tournaments that really meant something were won by people from South Korea. And despite the gap being a lot closer these days, I mean, there's no denying that the Koreans are still the best at StarCraft. Now, I could probably dedicate an entire video to that. It's probably mostly to do with, like, culture and all of that. But while the non-Koreans are doing much better, on average, the Korean pros are still significantly better. Now, at the time, especially in the early days of StarCraft, the Koreans were just absolutely dominating, right? And at the time, Polt was one of the few Koreans that could speak fluent English because he actually lived over in the United States of America, because I believe he studied there at a certain university. Now, long story short, the American fans, after he won a bunch of tournaments in the USA, very quickly dubbed him Captain America. I don't think he ever minded, so to this date, he's still known as Captain America. The Americans claimed him as one of their own, despite him being from South Korea, and I can't blame him because this man is an absolute blast to watch. So this game was played about a week or so ago during IEM Katowice, about a week and a half at this point. And after the match was played, a few of you reached out on Twitter and mentioned that if I did not see this game live, I should really go ahead and cast it, because apparently it's one of the most epic TVPs that's been played recently. So I'm excited. I have no idea what to expect, but I'm sure we will figure it out together. Very standard opener here from both players, and in general, I mean, both of these guys are very well known for just playing that super straightforward macro game. I would be surprised if you see something very out of the ordinary here. Now, what kind of opener will it be from Harstem? Judging by the fact that he's saving up gas, he's not starting up Warp Gate yet, I think this has to be a Stargate opener. And indeed, there it is, inside of the main base right here of the Protoss. So no cheeky proxies, nothing all too aggressive, and really, like, both of these guys love playing the macro game. So I would be surprised if we're going to be seeing any variety here super early on. Here's the Reaper from Polt, the very first one. Actually, it's going to just be a single one. He's scouting around a little bit. Sees indeed that it was an Adept first. Nothing too strange here either. Most of the Korean pros actually at this point, they like to wall off at the top of the ramp to try and prevent like this Reaper from getting in. Although on this map it's a little bit tricky to do. Shouldn't really matter all too much as Harstem still managed to deny that scout absolutely brilliantly. That does mean right now that the Terran player has to be a little bit careful, right? If it's going to be an Oracle first, which I assume it will be, there it is indeed something that can deal a lot of damage. So he has to make sure that he's going to be safe. Widowmine is coming up. We see a starport here already coming up as well. And a couple of Marines are being produced, 2 at a time. So I think he should be okay as long as he positions all of those units properly. Oftentimes there's this nice little mind game, especially with the Widowmine, as to where you want to burrow it. Some players like to burrow it right over here behind like the refinery, so the Oracle can't see it when it first flies in. But apparently Polt is just going to put it right out in the open at the very edge of his main base. Actually, for a while, we saw Terran players like walking the Widowmine out here and put it in like a really unorthodox spot, just because it was the craziest mind game. I think that would probably happen again if this map would still be in the map pool about a year or so from now. It's this little game that's being played simultaneously while everything else is going on as well. Now, Harstem did decide to actually go for the double Adepts. So these Adepts actually can do quite a bit of damage. I think he's going to wait until that Oracle commits inside of the main base. And since the Widowmine is not protecting the main, this one could certainly... Ooh, well, never mind. See, this is what I was talking about. I didn't even see it. The Widowmine was not quite protecting the main, but there is another one. And that one will shut it down. Well, the 2 Widowmines working in unison right there, making sure that the Oracle cannot deal that much damage. Now, actually, hold up. I wasn't even paying attention to this. There's a Fusion Core coming up from Mr. Polt. Fusion Cores this early on, I mean, it could be Liberator ranged upgrade, but judging by the fact that there's already a tech lab right here on that starport, I think it has to be a Battlecruiser opener? A Battlecruiser opener versus Protoss? I mean, it's very expensive. It's 400 minerals and 300 gas. He's saving up. It must be. There it is. Oh my god, yeah. It is going to be a Battlecruiser opener. Now, Harstem at this point doesn't know about the fusion core in the bottom left-hand corner. He knows that there was a Widow Mine here a little while ago. He probably assumes it's going to be a Banshee. So that's why he's probably checking here with Phoenixes, not really all too worried about anything. Already, though, there's one Medivac right now on the other side of the map with those 2 Widow Mines from earlier. The Widow Bros trying to get done whatever they can, but this is mostly just buying time. Now, normally Battlecruiser openers, not very popular, primarily because Protoss has a lot of anti-air, right? Like, Zerg doesn't have a lot of anti-air, so usually, well, oh my god, hold that thought, because these Widow Mines, oh. Oof, okay. I was gonna say, this looked initially like one of those moments where you are better off not pulling the boys. I think in this case, though, yeah, mostly negated that damage. And if you can get both of the mines as well, actually, it's a pretty good spot for the Protoss player to be in. Looks like the Phoenixes will be able to shoot down this Medivac here as well. But in just a little bit, though, we will have that Colossus. Now, normally we don't see or rather, we have that Battlecruiser. Now, normally we don't see Battlecruiser openers that much because Protoss players have so many options when it comes to anti-air. Widow Mine actually gets a little bit more damage right there in the main base. Did he jump it across? Oh, yeah, he certainly did. Here it is, inside of the main base. Now, there are a couple Phoenixes already, right? Is 3 Phoenixes enough to properly deal with this? I'm not entirely sure. 5 probes go down up to this moment. Here's those 3 Phoenixes returning back home. A 4th one will be joining them as well. I don't think 3 Phoenixes is going to cut it. I mean, they can take some shield damage, I suppose. Yeah, there we go. Nice little bit of micro from Harstem. Trying to just, you know, soften up this Battlecruiser. The thing is, though, the Battlecruiser can't really leave this position either. Oh, well, 1 Phoenix does go down. Because, well, if it leaves, the Stalkers will be able to catch up, right? Huh. Eventually, though, Tactical Jump will come off cooldown again. But for now, this Battlecruiser already has 10 kills under its belt. I wonder if you want to go for, like, a Void Ray at this moment. I think a Void Ray would not be a terrible idea. But, honestly, Harstem could have prevented most of these probe losses as it is just by pulling the workers a little bit quicker. It's just so uncommon to see a Battlecruiser in this matchup. Another Phoenix has joined. But I feel like by the time he's got enough Phoenixes to, like, deal with the Battlecruiser, this Battlecruiser will have Tactical Jump off cooldown. Look how long it takes these units. Oh my god. He just sends in the second one as well. I think you have to start respecting this a little bit more, Harstem. Putting it on idle there, not a bad idea, but... yeah, what exactly are you going to do as a follow-up? Now, I love this, by the way. Polt, in the meantime, obviously, is macroing behind this. He's getting himself a 3rd Battlecruiser too. This seems so risky to me, because if you were to lose both of the BCs, right, to a misplay... right? Or say there's like a couple of Void Rays at this point that all of a sudden show up and you can't teleport these Battlecruisers like all the way home. You're just going to lose the game straight up because Protoss is just going to counterattack with an awful lot of units. Already, we do have 5 additional gateways coming up. I think that's exactly what Harstem is planning on doing. He probably wants to shut these Battlecruisers out of the sky and then go for an all-out assault on the other side of the map while expanding behind it as well. Well, maybe. We'll see. This is such an awkward opener, though. Because Protoss isn't, like, willing to now send these units anywhere else, obviously. Here we go. Tactical Jump not yet off cooldown on one of these, but they just tickle, man. It's like watching a sentry attack a Viking or something. They just don't really deal any damage. A Colossus is coming up as well. How do the Colossi actually work at this point in the game? Well, he's got to change that rally point. That one has moved all the way across. Battlecruisers, though, have Tactical Jump available right now. They can leave at a second's notice. But I kind of like the idea of going for the weapon refit here, because since this is indeed a Battlecruiser opener, well, this Battlecruiser will likely end up going down, I think. Since it is indeed a Battlecruiser opener, well, will it? Oh my god, dude, Phoenixes really suck against Battlecruisers. Since it is a Battlecruiser or a Colossal opener, rather, the Battlecruisers can just like Yamato cannon down the Colossi, right? Huh. +1 will be finishing up here in just a second, by the way. That will make these Phoenixes significantly better. Means that both of these shots that a Phoenix does every single time that it attacks will get +1 damage done. And that really does add up very quickly. But I mean, these Battlecruisers can just get out really easily. This is kind of insane, actually. We don't see a lot of BC openers in TVP. But I kind of like it. I kind of like it. Well, this one, I'm afraid it's going to not live to tell the tale. It's going to still get 1 unit at the very least, though. Oh, well, the second one as well. Wow. These Battlecruisers actually have been really nice. So wait, how much damage has been done up to this point? Yeah, look at this. Oh my god. Huh. Now, obviously, he did have to, like, slow down his own economy a little bit. Right? We don't see a 4th base done yet here for Polt, but it's going to finish here shortly. And he's just following this up with a pretty normal unit composition as well. Just good old Marine Marauder Medivac tank, right? Now, if you can Yamato cannon down these Colossi, isn't this, like, just a straight steamroll ahead for Terran? I'm not entirely sure. Like, ultimately, I think what Protoss needs is, like, I don't know, like Tempest or something like that, right? Like, just a more beefy unit that can shoot at those Battlecruisers from a distance. Because the range on BCs really is very low. But you can't really go for Tempest until you get at least, I would say, like 4 base economy up. So he can start thinking about that switch right about right now. But honestly, though, in the grand scheme of things, like, both players have just been macroing really aggressively. Ooh. He doesn't have charge yet? No, he does not have charge yet. Huh. Yeah, it's gonna finish up here in just a sec. I was gonna say. I didn't see it there on the production tab, but that's just Lowko being blind, okay? A couple of Zealots actually being warped in apparently in the bottom right-hand corner. But can't you just Yamato cannon down the Colossi? They don't have range yet either, by the way. Like, everything here has been slowed down so much for Harstem. There it is, by the way. One of the Battlecruisers, or actually both of the Battlecruisers, managed to connect right there with one of those laser boys, and well, the damage was done very quickly. And I've got a feeling with these siege tanks getting into a really good spot right now, the 4th Nexus will fall. Already, though, Harstem secured himself another base right here on the right-hand side. This was spotted just a little bit ago. Looks like the Zealots actually were also cleaned up. And I've got a feeling that this Prism won't be able to get too much done either, as it gets shot out of the sky. Battlecruisers, though, apparently still feeling brave. As long as you have technical jump off cooldown, you can just get aggressive, right? You can just really get aggressive quite easily. Is this gonna, like, spark the entire Protoss army to go all the way back home? Because it looked like Harstem wanted to get aggressive here. He does have a couple of Ghosts now into the mix as well. Obviously, EMP is phenomenal, especially against Archon and High Templar. Now, there's no High Templar here or anything yet, but once again, these Battlecruisers, they should be able to just get out, right? Yeah, they are just so tanky. Having those units upgraded is gonna make a huge difference as well. Up to this point, he's at +1 flyer upgrades. So that's kind of interesting too. That indicates to me that he may be thinking about adding on additional Battlecruisers a little while later. I love it. This kind of shows how much of StarCraft 2 is still undiscovered territory. Now, I can imagine Battlecruisers aren't going to be great on every single map, but on some, you definitely can make them work. Especially against the Stargate-based opener that transitions into Colossi. Normally, the Colossi transition is really solid because you can hold on to your 3rd base a little bit easier. It's one of the styles that the top-level Protoss players play all the time. So this is super normal here from Harstem. Unorthodox approach from Polt, but it's working pretty well up to this moment. Now, I think ultimately, Protoss can just either, like, make a massive army and push forward. Oh my god, this is actually, like, a really strong funnel, though. Harstem, can you really fight this? Yeah, I don't think so. I think ultimately Protoss can just max out and get a huge army going and just attack forward. Or he can transition towards Tempests. Now, up to this moment, though, he's not added on, like, a fleet beacon or anything like that. He's only still on 1 Stargate, so I think he may want to make that call here at some point. Now he's up to 5 bases, right? So that's, for all intents and purposes, yeah, okay, 10 gases. Apparently, well, it's a high-yield gas, right? So it counts as 2. But apparently, this is the moment where Harstem is content. He's like, okay, with 10 gases, I can start up my Stargate transition here as well. Since there are already Ghosts into the mix, rather than going into High Templar, Harstem has decided to go for Disruptors instead. I guess what Harstem is trying to achieve at this point is the exact opposite of what I was suggesting earlier, where you go for, like, a really big army and then push out. I think what he's trying to do... Oh my god. Wow, really? Can't believe he blinked past that. I guess he still managed to get a little bit of damage done. I guess he wanted to get rid of some of his supply so he can start building some Stargate units here in a second. But I think what he's trying to do is, in a way, like, soft contain his opponent and prevent him from getting that much economy. So up to this point, look, there's a couple DTs here as well. Very annoying. They deal so much damage here. But up to this point, Protoss obviously has been ahead when it comes to the work account quite aggressively. Now, once again... Ooh, I actually thought he was target firing down the Colossi there, but not quite. Not quite gonna happen. 25 kills on one of these, 12 on the other. But up to this point, obviously, Protoss has been mining a lot more than the Terran player, right? So I think that probably was the approach there from Harstem. Just keep those Battlecruisers occupied and just expand, knowing that Terran really can't hurt you very much during all of that. That one DT, by the way, still going to town. It's now got 9 kills. It also forced out 2 scans, which is absolutely massive. So nice positioning here. And this is the moment, apparently, where the Tempest production is getting started. This Battlecruiser, it does have tactical jump. Will be able to get home, despite its buddy already losing its life. But look at this. Inside of the main base of Polt, he's transitioning towards triple Battlecruiser production. Battlecruisers are ridiculously expensive. Normally, we don't see them in the mid game very much, but you can certainly like make use of them, having them in like the absolute late game, after maybe getting like 1 or 2 in the early game as well. It's pretty common to get that switch. But most of the time, we don't see like 2-3 Battlecruisers this aggressively like Polt was going for. Pretty cool. Okay, now, is this gonna be enough to break through this planetary fortress? Looks like the Battlecruiser falls. I would love it if the Colossi had started to target fire down some of these SCVs, but I think Harstem must have been preoccupied microing elsewhere, because obviously he's still also harassing inside of the main base here. 9 workers go down. Brilliant move right here by Harstem, keeping his opponent occupied, and really like keeping that economy here of the Terran player contained. He's slowly replacing some of these weaker gateway units with army units that, ooh, nicely done, he gets the planetary, with army units that really are much more sustainable, like for example those big flying units. Now, there's still a bunch of stalkers available. I like it. He ends up losing quite a lot, or no, right here on the tail end of things, right? Now he's forced to warp in a bunch of stalkers again. It's a little bit awkward. There's not that much splash damage in this unit composition. Where are those Tempests that we saw earlier? One Disruptor actually moves down the ramp. Medivacs get target fire down as well, but I've got a feeling that this Bio Army at this point is just a little bit too much. No more Purification Novas and really no additional splash damage available. There are those Tempests though, so there's 2 of them available at this moment. I actually would love to see continued Tempest production at this point. Obviously, you can't go too crazy, because at that point, the Marines would just shred you to bits. Tempest, Disruptor, Stalker, Zealot. Ha! Pretty sick. Okay, another Nexus being acquired in the top left-hand corner. So, despite Harstem killing the planetary, I feel like he lingered around this area for a little bit too long. And he eventually took a lot more damage than he absolutely needed to. I think he was probably able to snipe the base and then just get out with most of the units. I think that would have been a better choice. Right now, though, everything has sort of been evened up, right? So if you have a look right here at upgrades, both players have their ground units fully upgraded. Harstem has already finished up a +2 flyer weapons as well. Would love to see actually some carapace upgrades, or some armor upgrades rather. This is not Zerg Loko, they don't have carapace. But I would love to see some armor upgrades as well for those Tempests. Yeah, these Yamato cannons deal so much damage. Look at that. 2 Yamatos just got rid of one of those Tempests, and that's just because Harstem got into that position. I think what he's going to need here at some point as well is a few Oracles. So, yeah, producing 3 Tempests at once right now, I think he needs to add on like an Oracle or 2 here in just a second. Once again, more harassment inside of the main base. So the thing about Tempest is that they have a ton of air-to-air range in particular, but you need to see the units, right? So at this point, he's mostly sacrificing some hallucinations, and I think that this is another one of them that will get picked off. Mostly using hallucinations and then those leftover Phoenixes from early 2. But with the Oracles, you can obviously use Revelation on the Battlecruisers, and then the Tempest can shoot away at their maximum range. Battlecruisers really have a pretty short range, so with good micro, the Battlecruisers should get picked off. Yeah, okay, here's an Oracle. I like it a lot. An additional Stargate coming up as well. That brings the total up to 4 Stargates. This is going to be a full Sky Toss versus full Sky Terran army here, isn't it? I think that's the reason why people recommended it to me. This is so sick. Both players are now taking basically every single base on their side. Harstem even taking this expansion over here that we never really see mined very often. You could even consider taking the expansion here in the top left. But since both of them are maxed out right now, I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see some of those like lower tier units, like, you know, Marines and Marauders and stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see those getting replaced here with additional Battlecruisers. And likewise for the Protoss, I would love to see some of these Zealots and maybe a few of the Stalkers replaced as well. He doesn't have that many though. He's actually only got 13. You know what? I really like this style here from Harstem. It took him a long road to getting here, right? It took him like 19 minutes to get to this unit composition, but it seems really potent. What about a mothership? Do you think a mothership will be worthwhile? He's actually got a lot of probes. I wonder if maybe 91 probes is a lot. Maybe a little bit too much. So, by the way, notice Revelation here now being utilized on these Battlecruisers, so Harstem can see where they're located as long as that spell is active. So having a couple of Oracles into the mix, really, really beneficial, because it prevents you from getting Yamato down. So on paper, I think with good micro... Oh my god! Woohoo! Nice Disruptors. Beautiful moves there, actually. Underneath that cloud of Tempest, there's a couple of Disruptors trying to get value. Now, sadly here, ooh, great targeting as well. Sadly there for the Protoss, the Battlecruisers did get in range, but once again, Revelation was used. And at this point, I mean, how are you going to fight this? Once again, beautiful disruptors. Those Purification Novas are dealing so much damage. Now, once again, the Tempest went a little bit too far forward. This one over here, literally at 1 health. It literally has 1 hit point. 4 Battlecruisers, or rather 4 Tempests are being produced at once. 3 Battlecruisers. I'm not entirely sure who's winning this, but I do like this position for Harstem a lot more here as time goes by. Should be able to get rid of this planetary here. Is he going to commit? I think he wants to. Maybe that's a little greedy, though. No, he does get it. It comes down to the battle between the Battlecruisers and then those Tempests. And I feel like on paper, with perfect micro, Protoss should have the upper hand there. Right? If you keep landing the Revelations and you can keep shooting away at those Tempests, you're going to be in a good spot. Now, Harstem has lost way more resources, though. Look at this. He's lost like 10,000 more minerals and like 3,000 more gas, right? That math was almost correct. Math in a video, though. Never do it. Not even once. But he's, like, lost so much money. He's lost so much money. Now, he's been mining a lot more. And a little bit ago, he was sitting at, like, 90 workers. I like 70, quite a bit more. I think... Oh, once again, huge disruptors, man. Those disruptors are dealing so much work. Ooh. Yeah, I think that this base, once again, will be the night. Tempests are dealing damage. I think he needs to maybe get rid of a couple of those probes. Well, apparently Polt... He's, using a couple of Battlecruisers here at home to defend against those Tempests from, like, moving forward, I guess. But at the same time, he's getting rid of a couple of those probes. Now, I think you needed to get rid of a couple, Mr. Harstem. Losing this many, though, seems a little bit excessive. Oh, my God. You blink twice and 32 probes disappear. You know what? Yep. They have tactical jump. This is actually really critical. Look at this. The base will get... Oh, wow. No? No? Okay. Wow. He actually is really quite nice with those target fires of those Yamato cannons, right? Most of the time we see them used on units or on structures, but he's really using them on individual targets. Specifically targeting with each and every Battlecruiser to just get the maximum amount of damage done. Really nicely done. You know what? Since Polt now has so many Battlecruisers that he can split them up, he's sending in the second hit squad, the one that was used for base defense earlier, to go after that expansion that is certainly being reacquired, as Harstem is trying to continue fighting from the same position that he was already in earlier. So these are the Battlecruisers that previously tactical jumped and that killed all those probes. Look at this. A second hit squad. I love it. So sick. So what do you do right now? Ooh. What do you do right now if you're Harstem? Do you decide to push forward? I don't know, man. You can't get too aggressive. Oh, nice blink forward there. Does manage to get underneath these Battlecruisers. Deals a lot of damage to some of them. At the same time, by the way, those Battlecruisers are still going to town. All of a sudden, Harstem's economy is absolutely in shatters. The 12 Tempests, they're now back at home. But guess what? These Battlecruisers have tactical jump available. They're going to get out. They're just simply going to get out of here. So by the time you show up, they're going to... Well, he should get out. Teleport it. Okay, he loses one, but that's 100% worth dealing that much damage with. At the same time, though, the Stalkers apparently are now going after another one of these planetaries. Huge amount of SCVs fall as well. I think that this will all come down to one big clash between the Battlecruisers and those Tempests. Question is, will it be when they're fighting on a planetary, or will it be when they're fighting on shield batteries? Harstem actually doesn't really have much money anymore. He is not maxed out. Polt is not completely maxed out either. He's going back to marine production right now. That's a little bit crazy. He's forced to take now this expansion here on the low ground. I'm starting to get a little bit worried right now for the Dutch Protoss. He needs to deny bases here of the Terran, but he doesn't really have the units at this point anymore as far as like the supply count goes. Although, I mean, never count out a man with 12 Tempests. Revelation still super good, and he can now essentially one-shot Battlecruisers with Tempest. That's insane. Oh my god, he actually decides to jump. He jumped right now behind the Protoss army, probably trying to intercept a couple of these units right now, utilizing the Yamato cannons once again to target fire as many of these units down as he can. At the same time, the Marauders and Marines stim forward. Doesn't he have more Battlecruisers? He has 9 Battlecruisers. Where's the rest of them? I don't really know exactly where they are. I guess a couple of them are moving forward right now as well. Maybe waiting for tactical jump to come off cooldown. Well, wherever they were, Polt now has decided it's time to jump forward. Harstem managed to take some Harstem is forced to tap out of this game, and Polt obtains the victory. I think that's what he was hunting for, right? He knew his opponent wasn't quite maxed out anymore because he did so much economical damage. And then he committed like half of his Battlecruisers to jumping behind the Protoss army. And since Harstem didn't really have any like Archons or anything like that underneath, so none of the units that really deal a lot of splash damage to clumped up Battlecruisers like that, he managed to get an awful lot of damage done. I'm actually curious though, as far as like units lost go here at the very end. Terran really ended up getting some insane value out of those Battlecruisers. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button down below. If you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get notified as soon as future videos go live. But for now, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, alright? And I will see you once again in the next one.